Welcome to The Story. I'm Pat Doris. We're starting our show today on the streets of Portland at the annual Veterans Day Parade because we want to say thank you, happy Veterans Day, and we want to honor all of you who've served. We've got a really great show for you. We're going to talk about the political races that are still being battled out. We're also going to introduce you to some amazing veterans. Ready? Let's go. Let's begin with this parade. This is the first time in 48 years it was not held along Northeast Sandy Boulevard. The past organizers put the parade on hold during COVID and then decided to step down. A new group took over and moved the parade to Martin Luther King Jr. Boulevard, still in Northeast Portland. As in past years, today's parade included marching bands and military vehicles and, of course, military veterans. More veterans watched from the sidewalk. Virginia Kipper is a 100-year-old World War II veteran. She made maps during the war and appreciates those who come out now to celebrate veterans.
Great. More the merrier.
Scott Rice agrees. He spent 4 years in the Army.
I like that. I think it's a long time to do. I know the Vietnam vets, when they came back, there was nothing, and they were putting a spit on this stuff. Anyway, things have improved. Ever since Desert Storm, things have gotten a lot better.
There was a lot of admiration on this street today from both strangers and those who know and love veterans. Dee Lazatin is married to one.
I admire their service, their dedication, and their intention to protect us and service. And the fact that I'm married to one.
I also got a history lesson from veteran James Katovis, who served in the Marine Corps.
Well, today's Armistice Day. That emphasizes peace. That's when the peace treaty was signed in World War I.
Sure enough, here are the details from the Library of Congress. November 11th, 1918, the Allied powers signed a ceasefire agreement with Germany in France. It ended World War I and later became Veterans Day. Veterans, of course, are our big story today. The Department of Veteran Affairs reports there are roughly 167,000 World War II veterans still alive today. That's out of 16 million who served with America in the war. One of the oldest lives right here in the Portland area. I got to meet him last week. Bud Millard loves a good game of competitive bridge. Each week he spends at least an hour here, matching wits and luck against his fellow residents at Mary's Woods, a senior living community in Lake Oswego.
Got it.
Bud is a World War II veteran. How old do you think he is?
I still believe in looking at a good-looking woman.
Yep, he's that old. He's old enough to get away with saying exactly what he's thinking.
6 weeks I'll be 103 if God lets me live.
Does it sound big to you?
Yeah, it does. It sounds huge to me, and it's a miracle. And I'm probably one of the most blessed men alive today.
How old do you feel?
I would say probably in my 90s.
That's pretty good.
Mentally, not that old. Mentally, I'm still in my 50s.
Recent pictures show he has not lost his zest for life. Bud's involvement in World War II started on December 7, 1941. That's the day the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor in Hawaii. As much of the country reeled over the attack and the impending war, Bud felt the thrill of future adventures.
Well, for me, it was an exciting day because I was going to be trained to be a pilot, and that was very exciting for a 21-year-old.
Born into a Jewish family, he was eager to fly into battle in Germany and personally take the fight to the Nazis. Bud learned to fly 4-engine and 2-engine bombers, but fate held a different path for him. While hospitalized with an illness, his unit was sent to North Africa to fly P-38 fighters. When he recovered, Bud was sent to California.
I was transferred to the Southern California Defense Department, and my job was to alert the airfields in Southern California to arise when incoming Japanese flights would come in. However, that never developed, and after that, my duties were to calibrate radar for England. They badly needed the radar, and we calibrated that off the coast of California, and at the same time did submarine duties in a pre-war bomber called the B-18.
But there was plenty of flying to do stateside. After 4 years, he left active duty, but remained in the reserves for another 16.
Well, it was my duty. It was my duty to serve. I enjoyed my time in the military. The camaraderie that you found, I knew it was fighting for our beliefs, and it was a job. But after the job was done, my flying was done, I couldn't wait to go home, get married, have children, have a home.
And so he did. His first marriage to his wife Adele lasted 50 years before she died from cancer. His current marriage to Catherine is 25 years old and going strong.
I'm one happy man.
Tens of thousands of proud American flags dotted the square, and as the day wore on...
Looking back now, he remembers the feeling of America, united to face a world at war.
But at that time, we were as one nation. There was no dissension among the patriots in the United States, and it's kind of sad for me today to see how divided our nation has become and how patriotism is thrown out the window. And it's a disturbing thing, disturbing.
Do you feel that veterans are appreciated these days in America?
Yeah, I think the majority of Americans who still remain patriotic, yes, they do appreciate the veterans, and very often I'm complimented on my service as I compliment others for their service too.
After living much of his life in California, Bud and Catherine moved to Oregon and Marys Woods, where he is just now beginning to slow down a bit.
I gave up water aerobics when I was 101. I gave up driving when I was 101.
He misses that freedom of driving.
Well, I was still 21 in that picture.
But he tries to look forward, not back. Bud credits good genes, regular doctor visits, and a moderate lifestyle to his longevity. He's keeping his brain sharp, playing cards with the ladies, and doing crossword puzzles. And where do you go from here?
Well, hopefully to heaven. No, I take a day at a time and get the most out of each day. I enjoy the changing trees, the colors. I enjoy the music that I hear each day. I enjoy the people that I meet with each day. I enjoy the time I have with my wife. I'm just totally blessed and very happy.
Now, there are as many veteran stories as there are veterans, and I know not all are as upbeat as Bud's, but I found him really inspiring. I hope you do too. While we're talking about veterans, I thought it'd be good to take a look at where they are living in the Northwest. This is Washington State, which had 561,000 veterans in 2019. This is a map put out by the VA. The darker color shows more density of the veteran population there. And here's a look at Oregon, which had more than 303,000 veterans as of 2017. By the way, the color might be a little misleading on both maps because it's done as a percentage of the county's population, and the big cities will have much higher population. So it looks like there are not as many veterans when there actually might be a lot, but they're just diluted because of all the other people who are also there. And check this out. The Morrison Bridge is lit up in red, white, and blue for Veterans Day. The Convention Center is also lit up for the night. And a widely cited statistic from the Veterans Administration says that about 22 veterans die by suicide every day. It's kind of hard to believe. And in fact, the accuracy of that number has been called into question in recent years. But you know what? Even one death is too many. And as photojournalist Kurt Austin shows us, one group is spending this Veterans Day doing what they can to understand the burdens our veterans face.
Yeah, and all day, this is Veterans Day.
I'm ready for the ruck, 2.2 miles, 22 pounds.
This is 22 pounds.
Right,
yep.
Today is Ruck 22. It's a day to not just celebrate Veterans Day, but to also acknowledge and help raise the awareness for veterans suicide.
It feels like I have a toddler on my back. Yeah, but I think that pales in comparison to the weight that our veterans carry.
I've seen the emotional toil, and toll that things take on people sometimes.
Carrying 22 pounds, that represents the 22 veterans that are committing suicide each day.
It's a lot.
My name is Chad Brown. I'm a Navy veteran, Desert Storm, and also Operation Restore in 2 wars, basically. Coming out of that, I was dealing with PTSD. 50% mentally disabled, and but I continue every day to fight, that fight, and for our fellow veterans.
We need to show as much honor and support and respect as we can to all of them. They have a lot of ailments.
Let's take one of these.
We're trying to bring the community out because what we need is that extension of support to help raise that awareness of veteran suicide and what's going on. And veterans need to see that, A lot of us fight this darkness by ourselves all the time.
All right, there we go. We're off. Yep.
It's beautiful to see so many people come out and do it with us.
We're here to support them and let them know that no one fights that battle alone.
I know the challenges and struggles that our veterans face, and it's heartbreaking because they go and serve our country, our community. They're out there supporting us, and so to know that they come back and they struggle with some really challenging and devastating issues, and I think the more that we can do to bring awareness to veteran suicide, the more we can bring support to them. It's just going to be a service for humanity.
It's a hard walk. It really is a hard walk, A lot of us come back, we're not ourselves. We are not ourselves. We are a different person, but we still fundamentally have the need and desire of love.
Several races for seats in Congress are still close, but at least one Oregon seat appears to have flipped red. The latest election night results just ahead. And as we're heading to break, here's a comment about appreciating veterans from Jesse Rogers, who worked at KGW back in the early 80s.
I'm very grateful to them, grateful to my parents. My father served in Korean War. My grandfather was in World War II. So there's just been a lot of good things that always because of veterans. So I'm very grateful to them.
Welcome back. By the way, we love to hear from you, so if you have questions or comments about any of the stories we're doing or the knucklehead things I say, feel free to email us. Our email is thestory@kgw.com, or call and leave us a voicemail. The number is 503-226-5090. Well, it's been a tough week for Christine Drazan, and now she has conceded the race for governor to Democrat Tina Kotek. Kotek declared victory yesterday after her margin widened, thanks in large part to voters in Multnomah County. In a concession video this afternoon, Drazan asked her supporters to stay in the fight.
I have talked to Tina Kotek, and she is the governor-elect of our state. I wish her and our state only the best. We need each other. I think that's the last thing that I want to say today, is that as we move forward as a state, it's clear that we have elected a governor that in fact did not receive a majority of the votes. A majority of Oregonians voted for someone other than the person that will serve as our governor for the next 4 years. And that was going to be true no matter who won this race. This is a moment for us to come together and to recognize that our differences do not have to divide us, that we can work together for a better future across our state, regardless of party affiliation and regardless of majority power.
And we have new results in tonight in 3 close congressional district races. The Oregonian is now projecting that Republican Lori Chavez DeRemer will be the winner in Oregon's 5th district. Let's bring in Evan Watson now. That seat has been held by a Democrat, Kurt Schrader, for over a decade, and now it's flipping from blue to red.
Yeah, absolutely, Pat. And flipping that seat is a big gain for Republicans hoping to gain control of the House of Representatives. As it stands, Chavez DeRemer leads by about 7,000 votes. She released a statement today saying she is humbled and grateful for the support, and said her projected win shows Oregon families wanted a congresswoman to tackle inflation and keep them safe. McLeod Skinner, on the other hand, said this afternoon that it's still too soon to call this race with the number of outstanding ballots. In the new 6th congressional district, there, Andrea Salinas leads by about 4,000 votes, a little under 2%. That lead is narrowed over the past 2 days. Clackamas County results will have a role to play in both the 5th and 6th districts. However, Clackamas County election workers are only verifying signatures on ballots today, not posting results. So we're going to have to wait until 6 p.m. tomorrow, on Saturday, yes, for an update from Clackamas in both of these races. And in Washington's 3rd congressional district, Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez still holds on to her narrow lead of about 5,000 votes at the moment. Now, Clark County plans to share the results of about 20,000 ballots any minute now. Clark County has the majority of the outstanding votes in this race, close to 45,000 ballots left in all. Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez's lead has effectively been cut in half from election night, from about 10 or 11,000 votes now down to about 5,000. Cowlitz County added the results of 5,000 votes this afternoon, which favored Kent, but Cowlitz only has about 2,000 ballots left to go. So both candidates are waiting to see how these final votes are split.
It's fascinating to watch all this come down to the last minute here. Do you have a sense of which candidate is favored and the results still to come?
Yeah, Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez is winning in Clark County. She's received 56% of those votes to this point. But I should say in yesterday's 25,000 vote update, it was essentially even between her and Joe Kent. And for context here, some Republican candidates in Clark County did encourage their supporters to wait until Election Day to return their ballots. So we're going to see tonight any minute now if the results continue to shift in Kent's favor or if they hold or maintain where they're at. Kent's going to need to win the remaining Clark County votes to win this race.
Okay, we'll be watching. Thank you, Evan. Tonight on Straight Talk, Laurel Porter is going over the election results with the 2 political experts who joined us for our election night coverage. They're Republican strategist Rebecca Tweed and Multnomah County Commissioner Shushila Jayapal. One thing that they're talking about, the inroads the Republicans seem to have made in some of the areas of Oregon's very blue politics. For example, Republicans broke the Democratic supermajority in the legislature, and they put up a tough fight for the governor's office.
Well, let's talk about the Republicans. Let's bring Rebecca back in. I mean, this had to be so disappointing for Republicans. I think Republicans really thought this could be their time after 40 years not being in the governor's office in Oregon. And the conditions seemed right for Christine Drazan to win. She did have things that she could talk about, kitchen table issues. She had the homelessness and rising crime in Portland that she could point to. She could point to one-party rule for so long. She could talk about a high cost of groceries and gas. But coming so close, and at least at this point looking like it wasn't quite enough. How disappointing is this for Republicans in Oregon?
Well, I think it's been a really interesting race for Republicans for Christine Drazan. For a key reason is that she's been one of the more conservative Republicans that we've had run in the last 12 years. You know, Chris Dudley was a moderate, Bud Pierce was a moderate, Newt Bueller was considered moderate, maybe even too progressive. Christine Drazan really ran on conservative platforms and pretty traditional conservative values and has come closer than anybody has in the last decade or so. There's a few factors that go into it. You know, I think having Betsy Johnson, who may have come in a distant third, but I would say had a successful impact on the race. You know, that impacts it quite a bit. If you look at where the numbers are today, having it be only 60,000 votes apart with some Clackamas County votes still out there. And, you know, Christine Drazan, as usual with Republicans in Oregon, win a majority of the state geographically, but just not some of these key, really populated, you know, mid-valley or a little bit more urban-based counties. You know, I think, of course, there's some disappointment. I think she brought a lot of energy to the campaign, and a lot of Republicans felt like they were reflected in there and that there was a path to victory. You know, I think even when there's a losing campaign, you know, as of today, there are still some wins in there. You know, if I was Tina Kotek, I would have been very nervous on election night, right? This was not just a runaway campaign for the party of 40 years. And probably is part of why she's coming out ahead right now with a message and taking the call for her to be governor. So, you know, there's really some of those messages really did resonate. And I think it re-energized Republicans across the board. You know, there's been some legislative pickups. I think more Republicans will try to be more engaged and involved. So it's certainly a disappointing night if you were hoping for a Republican governor, but some really good messages there as well.
Interesting discussion. You can watch the rest of it tonight, including what Tweed says Tina Kotek will have to do immediately for more conservative Oregonians when she takes over. That's on Straight Talk tonight at 7 o'clock on our KGW YouTube page and on air. All right, it's been 2 years since Oregon voters legalized magic mushrooms, but no one's taking any trips yet, at least not legally. And in more than 100 cities and counties across Oregon, you will not be able to. Why they say they don't want psilocybin in their communities when the story returns. This election period, voters in dozens of Oregon cities and counties weighed in once again on magic mushrooms. Voters statewide approved Measure 109 2 years ago, legalizing the use of psilocybin in licensed facilities. But it still has not yet been fully implemented. That's expected to happen next year. But now many places in Oregon are saying, hey, hold on, not here. Alma McCarty reports.
More than 100 Oregon cities and 27 counties decided earlier this year to pose the question to voters once again. Should psilocybin-related businesses, service centers, or manufacturers be prohibited? As it turns out, many voted yes, banning the psychedelic compound temporarily or in some cases permanently. Take Polk County, for example.
So far, 52.7% yes to 47.3% no.
Craig Pope is a Polk County commissioner. He explains why he opted to put psilocybin back on the ballot after speaking with county residents, many who cited concerns over another statewide measure that decriminalized small amounts of hard drugs.
And heard a lot of frustrations from people, most specifically about Measure 110 and how they felt that Measure 110 was a failed policy and a failed idea. And as they heard more about the psilocybin idea, they are very wary of that.
Under Measure 109, psilocybin could only be legally used by people 21 and older under certain circumstances. You wouldn't be able to purchase it and take it home. Angie Albee with the Oregon Health Authority spoke with us back in August.
At the License Service Center during that administration session, the client will meet with the facilitator. Psilocybin products will be sold to the client, and that's where the psilocybin services, the actual journey takes place.
Health leaders have until the end of the year to finalize the rules for every part of the process. Pope said even though these businesses are projected to be banned within the unincorporated areas of Polk County, those wishing to access these services won't have to travel far to find them.
You know, we're backing into it. I think that's the right way to do it. I know the science will come along with it, and let's give it an opportunity to be proven out. Honestly, I don't think that our potential consumers of psilocybin in Polk County are going to have to go any long distances in the future.
Okay, thanks, Alma. And keep sending your questions and comments to thestory@kgw.com. We're going to wrap things up right after this. The KGW Great Toy Drive is happening now. One of the best ways that you can help is to give online. Just go to kgw.com/toy and click Donate Cash. If you do that, we'll do the shopping for you. Your donations support local toy stores and more than 150 nonprofits. We also want to thank Fred Meyer, IQ Credit Union, Ziply Fiber, and local Toyota dealers for everything they're doing to help make this year's toy drive a huge success. That's the end of our show. Thanks so much for being with me and for watching. But remember, the story, our story, well, that never ends. I'll see you on Monday.